Hey,
Hey,
hey, we're
hey!
back, man. We're back. It's
I
all
thought
the Avengers.
I thought, are we supposed to be surprised that we're seeing each other here on video? I was gonna try to follow your lead.
I'm surprised to see all the people out there that are watching. Is who I'm surprised to see. I knew you were there. I just don't know if any of them are. Are you people out there? I don't know. I really am not sure. But yeah, tap it and see if anybody answers. I don't know. But this is all of the Avengers, and I believe we are up to episode 004. So in our last episode, which was me by myself, I talked about the Lava Men, which was an interesting experience, and I tried to find what was worth really talking about. Which basically, Luke, for you, since you probably haven't seen that one yet because it's still in the production queue, the thing that I determined about the Lava Men issue was the Lava Men were the least important thing about that issue. They were absolutely the least consequential thing. It was all just an excuse to have more Hulk soap opera.
We need more Hulk soap opera, frankly.
Well, the first 5 issues of Avengers and those 2 issues of Fantastic Four that I believe I covered in a special episode separately, it's all Hulk all the time. He is like the adversary of the first year or 2 of the Avengers.
Oh yeah, for sure. I will confess that as part of the Marvel A Day project, which is where I'm coming to you from, we read these issues of the Avengers. Oh gosh, 2 or 3 years ago now, I think. And so some of the less consequential stories from that run are kind of faded from my memory. I'm a little bit so. Apologies there. I am happy to say that the 2 we're going to read today are 2 of my favorites, though. So looking forward to this conversation.
Oh yeah. Very much. We got some very special issues here, and let me go ahead and introduce everybody. I assume knows by now if you watched the show before. I'm Van Allen Plexico, the founder of AvengersAssemble.net, and which has been around like 27 years now, which is insane. It makes me feel very old. And that's maybe where you're seeing this show. If you're not seeing this on the website, go to www.AvengersAssemble.net for all the other cool stuff and all the previous episodes. And I'm joined, we're doing different guests every few episodes. I'm joined tonight by Luke C.J. Smith. And Luke joins us from the Marvel A Day project, which is this awesome thing that he and Mark Ballou and I believe John Warren and Vince Alvarez over the last couple of years have been involved in. And you also are a longtime Jarvis head. So tell us, what have I left out?
No, that's a big part of it. And if you're interested in following us as we read a Marvel comic a day, starting with Fantastic Four #1 and leading off into the distant future, nearing the heat death of the universe, probably by the time we get done with the project, then you can find us on Twitter at Marvel a Day, PROJ, or you can find us on our Facebook group. So we'd love to see you out there and have some wild and wide-ranging conversations related to old school comics, and we have a good time every day.
Yeah, I love it. I followed it from the very beginning, and I always enjoy your stuff on Twitter that comes through, the different panels and the different snarky comments and the deep observations and everything in between. It's really cool. And you guys are all longtime Jarvis heads since the very beginning.
Yep, absolutely. I found AvengersAssemble.net on my first day at college back in 1996. And I've been with the group on and off ever since. And it is consistently my favorite corner of the internet, the corner where the Jarvis heads live.
Well, and we've been around almost since the very beginning together. It's really crazy. So yeah, well, there we are. That's us. So without further ado, we're going to watch Van try to work the technology again. This is always entertaining. There it is. We're going to bring up. Hey, there we go. Avengers #6.
Now I've got to ask. So you're looking at these on PDFs. Where are these off of the Avengers CD-ROM from back in the day, or where are these from?
Maybe.
I really don't know. Don't recall. It was in the back of your closet. Okay, that's cool. I was gonna say, because I love those old CD-ROMs because there's just so much on there. It's like, yes. I mean, you could sell them at 4 times the price and they would be worth every penny.
Oh yeah, I bought the Avengers CD-ROM the second it came out back in the day, and it cost about $25. I think it was about $25, and it had every issue of Avengers,
yes,
except for. I think it didn't have the giant size. It had the annuals, but not the giant size.
That's a shame.
I remembered something was missing. It's either I'm pretty sure the annuals on there, which mean that the giant size are not on there. It's one of the two. One of the two is not on there.
Some intern got fired over that, no doubt. Missing the giant sizes. Come on.
And I have to assume that is where these came from because they're the only ones digital in my collection that are PDFs. All the others are CBR or CBX or whatever. but and have to open with a different software. But these are PDFs, so they work. It's all good, whatever. So
Okay.
You wanted to ask about like how we read them though. You had
Yeah. So you'd mentioned that you were reading out of one of the old Masterworks books. Is that right?
I've got all different ways. I've got them on my iPad. I've got them on Comixology. I mean, I got them on my iPad. Like I uploaded myself from my collection.
Oh, cool.
I have them from Comixology and the Masterworks. I have them on this computer, and I've got like issues somewhere. Oh, have I got issues? And then I've got the Master. I think Larry Davis gave me this or let me borrow it along. It's one of those things where if he gave it to me, awesome, thanks, Larry. And if he let me borrow it, I've had it so long now that thanks, Larry, for giving it to me. But it's got like the first 10 issues in it.
Oh, that's gorgeous. That's gorgeous. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. As much as I love having those physical artifacts around, I just got to the point where it's like I move occasionally, and I don't want to have to move giant, a forklift full of long boxes everywhere. So I'm all digital now. Apart from a few trades I have on my shelf for to loan out to folks, but everything I read is digital. And I'll tell you what, I'll give you a hot take here. I think digital is honestly the way to read comics. The guided view that you get through Comixology or from Marvel Unlimited, it's super helpful. I mean, just pick up I got my collection everywhere I go, on my phone, my tablet, whatever. I love reading digitally. So I know a lot of old school comics guys hate that, but can't beat the convenience. So
no, I occasionally will read something in a hardcover or a paperback, but I can't remember the last time I had any desire to open a floppy, pamphlet.
Oh yeah, for sure. And too much trauma from back in the day when I accidentally let the tape touch the cover of the comic and it tears off a part of Captain America's face or something. It's like, oh, I still have.
Dude, you know what I've been doing all afternoon is packing up my Pulsar blind date comics to ship out. Oh. And that involved putting them in the plastic bags and putting the tape on them.
Okay.
I only ordered a few more than we sold.
Mm-hmm.
And if I mess one up, if I mess them up too often with that tape like you're describing, then it's going to be a big delay while I order a whole new batch. So, yeah, I've been in terror all day of messing up comics. I know exactly what you mean, for sure.
Sure.
By the way, I'm going to see, I think we're going to get Pulsar up on Comixology soon. So,
no way. That's great.
Yeah. Right now it's only on Kickstarter, but it'll migrate digitally to Comixology. That's my next trick, next thing to pull out of a hat with all these other things going on. So
is that your first one that's going to be on Comixology?
Yeah. The Cold Lightning comic we pulled back because we're redoing some stuff about it. We wanted to kind of make it, because the second and third issues are done, but we wanted to kind of bring them all in line together with the same, because we've been working on them for like 5 years, which is ridiculous. And we want the stuff that was done in 2017 to look like the stuff that was done in 2021. So Cold Lightning will be out, but just not as soon as Pulsar. So there you go.
Very, very cool.
Anyway. All right. So let's look at Avengers number 6 and 7. And I assume that you are all intrigued by these here issues because of, can't do that. Because of the Masters of Evil.
Absolutely. Yeah. Some of my favorite comics from when I was just getting going was Thunderbolts, and Masters of Evil plays right into mythology. So yeah, no, absolutely, Masters of Evil all day long.
And I never realized. I guess I always just assumed he was an old school dude. I don't think I ever fully realized that this is where Zemo starts out. He was a faceless silhouette in Avengers 4. In the flashback, where they don't say who it is that caused Cap and Bucky to fall in the water. And then here we find out it was Baron Zemo, and I had no idea this is like his first appearance or something. So
really, I just assumed that was one of those Golden Age villains who got translated over, but I really see it was a new creation from Stan and Jack for the Avengers. I did not know that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. That's the way it came across to me, and the whole adhesive X thing and all. I mean, it's just. I think so. And remember, Cap. I'm going to go with that. So, in any case, I'm trying to decide which screen to look at. I have a bigger version over here to the side, so forgive me for looking off to the side, but I can read it better. So we've got more Stan fun on the cover with "Have we got a tale for you? Please don't frustrate us. You've got to read it." Like the thing with Stan is every issue is like that, though. You know, it's like we outdid ourselves in this issue. I love it.
And so much copy. My God, look at this. There's like three different paragraphs worth of copy on the cover, in addition to like 17 people doing 16 different things. Like, oh my God, this is so complicated nowadays. I mean, I think I'm one of the few Jarvis heads who still reads comics that are coming out today, and those covers go the opposite way. It's basically like a pinup of a person and the title treatment, and it's like, I think there's a happy middle ground between there and here. You know, this is too much.
Yeah, that was called 1979.
Oh,
that was a happy medium. Was
a year after I was born. It's got to be a little bit later than that.
Maybe a little. Well, you know, we are all partial in some ways to when we start out something, and we talked about that for so many years in our group. And I started reading in '77. And so that seems to me like the way comics are supposed to be. This seems too wordy, and today seems too plain. Because that's my sweet spot, you know.
I feel that absolutely.
Yeah, but Lord, you know, this is another thing that Rob and I talked about in the previous episode was Stan really. I mean, we talk about how much that Jack did, and there's no doubt about it. But when you look at how many words are in these early comics, Stan was busting his butt. He was writing like little mini novels. He calls them like little mini novels, and he always says like this is a mini epic or something, or a feature length production. He always calls them. They were.
So I'm going to tell you, I just finished last night. I finished Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics, the trade paperback. You've read it, so you're good. So reading this right after that was a very it really kind of colored my perception of these issues. I'm sure that, you know, the truth is somewhere between where Stan's story, which is very, you know, Stan friendly, and Jack's story, which is very Jack friendly. I'm sure it's somewhere in the middle.
Sure.
I do tend to think it's probably a little closer to Jack's story, if I'm completely honest about, you know, knowing what we know about Stan and his carnival barker mentality.
Oh yeah.
But no question, Stan is working his ass off, and he's been working his ass off on like how many books concurrently, right? So it's no question about it. He's working hard.
The position I take, and I've read all that. I've read Stuff Said that the Tomorrow's folks did about where they took literally every quote that either one of them had said over the years about who did what, and they compare it all through, and it's an amazing read. It's called Stuff Said. It's actually got Captain Victory on the cover, which is funny. They probably couldn't get the rights to any Marvel or DC characters, so it's got Captain Victory on the cover, but it's about Marvel really and DC to turn degree. But anyway, my position is that Jack probably plotted most of it, laid it all out, did most of that stuff. But the thing is, we've read stuff that Jack wrote the scripting for. Okay, we've read a lot of that, and I'm a big fan. I love Captain Victory. I love his Captain America run. I love the Eternals. All that. I'm a big fan. But when you read a comic like this that Stan did the scripting for, or as Jack would say, put the words in the little bubbles, it takes it to another level.
Yeah, no, I will not argue that. So the thing I read in between the Jack Kirby book and these Avengers issues, I took another whack at reading New Gods. I got about halfway through the first issue, and I'm like, I think I'm just gonna go to bed. It's dense, and you can tell he's loving what he's doing. Boy, oh boy, it doesn't have that crackle that Stan gives to it an issue. No question.
That's the thing. No, 100%. That's the thing. I mean, I will agree all day and all night long that Jack Kirby was a genius and that he did most of this. Fantastic Four is what they usually talk about, but we can talk about Avengers too. But you read the dialogue, the captions, all the other stuff going on that Stan put in there, and nobody in the world but Stan Lee could have done that. It just drips Stan Lee. It's so obvious, and it's so unique. And it gives it something different that if Jack had done it by himself, it just wouldn't have had.
No, I absolutely agree. Together, they were better than some of their parts, and those individual parts were pretty great to begin with.
Exactly. Together, they were I mean, they're like any great musicians that produce great albums and then fight and break up. It takes that abrasion to create magic, but it sometimes gets so abrasive that they just can't stand it anymore. And I think that's kind of the case here.
I like that.
So
I like that.
So we pretty much get a preview of how the issue is going to go here on the front with this battle. And now,
I can earn big money by repairing electronics in my home.
Who knew? Who knew?
Can you zoom in so I can get that address, please?
I tell you what, I wish I think it's probably too late. I think it's probably a little too late. But
because $5 to $6 an hour, dude, that's
an hour, man. Come on,
that's not nothing.
Come on, that's good money. No, but all right, I gotta say, the magnets in the glove and the shield, I get where that would have been a cool gimmick in the day of James Bond's first few movies, which is what this was. But when we look back now, isn't it so much better that the shield does what Cap wants because Cap is just so good as opposed to technology?
Oh, I agree entirely. But I don't know how much you followed Marvel a Day back when we first got started, but the first like year and a half, if you were to do a word balloon of all the words that they used in Marvel comics back in the first 3 or 4 years, magnets, exclamation point would be like the biggest word in that word balloon. That word's cloud, rather. It's like
transistors is big too, but
transistors, asbestos might be a little bit bigger than magnets because holy God, every issue of Fantastic Four and Human Torch, everything was made of asbestos for some reason. But yes, it wouldn't be a Marvel comic from this day and age without there being magnets involved. So very cool.
There you go. All right, so that's all that's going on here. Oh, we got another. The cover wasn't enough, so now we got caution: don't tear this magazine or wrinkle the pages or get food stains on it. You want to save it. Now, Rob and I were laughing how number 4 said all that, and we're like, yes, that's true.
That
You're
is
right.
True. For sure.
But on this one, I'm like, it's great, but I don't know if I'm gonna, Anyway, all right. So Rick Jones is hanging around. And what do you think about this? I think it's interesting that Rick Jones pops up now because he's kind of that connection, right? He started out as kind of the Hulk's sidekick, but the Hulk didn't really, once the Hulk stops going to his cave and needing Rick to like zap him with beams or whatever, Hulk doesn't really need a sidekick. So he kind of gravitates more toward Captain America, and now you got a beef between Hulk and Captain America.
Well, I mean, I think the problem is that the Hulk didn't have a book at this point, right? So that's why he winds up drifting over here. I like having Rick as kind of the boy adventurer, the POV character for the young boys reading the story. I dig that. Something else that came up to me while I was reading the Jack Kirby book the other day, and this is probably the only other insight I dropped from that reading, but Jack tended to put like gangs of kid gangs into all of his books, and we get that in this issue too. This issue or the next one, I don't remember, but where you have the team brigade. Yeah. So so do we know is Rick Jones supposed to be Jack? Is he supposed to be like the stand-in for Jack? Is that what we're assuming here? Because I mean, the reason he put those kids in because he was in a kid gang of his own back in the day when he was growing up in New York. I just find myself wondering: is Rick Jones supposed to be Jack? I don't know.
I think it's more just a part of him. I think you're onto something there for sure, but I don't know that it's 1-to-1. You know what I mean? I mean, because it's like I was noting in the issue when we did the Fantastic Four that obviously Ben Grimm is also Jack, but there's also times that I don't know. I see Jack in a lot of characters. I see him put parts of himself into how he portrays different characters, and so I think Rick is just one of many. Yeah, but you're right. There's always street gangs, and God bless the Yancey Street gang in particular, right? The ones that terrorized Ben for 50 years now or whatever is just so great, or 70 years. All right, so Cap. Oh, look at the shield! Is oh my God!
Cap's indestructible shield opened like a pocket watch. I love that.
Oh gosh,
like...
I don't even want to think about it. So Cap wants revenge on Baron Zemo, and meanwhile Zemo is hanging out with monkeys and Nazis apparently in South America or something. And
dig that third panel on the second page there with Zemo walking across
the backs
of all these insubjugated brown people. It's like, oh my God.
Gosh, I know it. There's also there's something here I had made a note of, and now I'm going to forget it. I love the way Stan writes dialogue for anybody that's not a good guy. You're on time. That is good. You know the penalty for failing Zemo. He just talks to everybody like they're dirt, and you're like, dude, I flew down here to bring you stuff. I could just fly back, just starve to death. Well, no, dolt. Unload your plane, you stupid dolt. But anyway, there's another thing here where here it is. Okay. So Zemo says, and we're going to mark this for later, okay? Zemo says, even in the latest scientific journals which you bring me, there is still no known formula which can remove adhesive X. Like he's scouring the scientific journals looking for a solvent that will solve the problem. Okay. Couple of pages later, somebody mentions a solvent, and he's like, a solvent? How did I never think of that before? What a great idea. And I'm like, Stan, you must have gone and taken a coffee break and then come back to the typewriter and totally forgotten.
I noticed that, but I gave it a little bit of a pass. I'll show you why when we get to those pages. How about that?
All right, very good. So look at Zemo stuffing on the newspaper because Captain America's back. That is just the best. I'm going to zip along. If you want to note anything, please do. But otherwise,
I will let you know.
All right, so here's Zemo again. He's got his mask glued to his face, which is one of the more odd predicaments a villain could be in, right?
Absolutely. And also he makes note of the fact that he is Hitler's most hated scientist, and he has to wear the mask because the otherwise the German people would rise up and kill him. It's like, if he's just focused on making adhesives, it seems like Nazi scientists could be doing something a little more evil than that.
Evil glue, man.
I guess
it's evil glue.
I mean, I guess the question could be posed, what is that glue made of?
Yeah.
I'm not going to follow that to its dark.
Oh boy. Conclusion. Yeah. Let's just leave that out there.
Let's keep moving. Yeah.
Moving along.
That's no good. That's no good.
Woo. So, all right, another reference to Avengers 4 here. I'm moving along here. Oh, okay. So he sends out his adhesive, right, for the villains to spray all over the city. Now, I kid you not, the evil scheme here is to cover New York City in glue, right? And I mean,
yeah,
it's not a horrible plan as it actually is drawn up. Am I crazy?
It's not a horrible plan, especially considering, it's been proven that this stuff doesn't ever come off. So you're going to have people starving to death, stuck in the middle of the street in New York, apparently. That's pretty awful stuff.
Yeah. So Black Knight, I guess the evil Black Knight, right? And then the melter, I'm not quite sure what it looks like he's doing.
I'm glad I'm not the only 12-year-old on this podcast. That's exactly what I saw. It was like, oh God.
Gosh,
what is that beam coming out of exactly?
That's disturbing. Yeah, the melter. Okay, I always liked a good
ooh la la.
Look at all the who says this isn't the Marvel Age of Comics, Luke? I don't know. Who said that?
I'm looking at this here real quick. So the Marvel a Day, folks, we didn't do, oh my God, there's a lot we did. So Kid Colt Outlaw, Two Gun Kid, Rawhide Kid. Do you really need that many kid comics in the Old West, first off?
Kid Western.
Patsy Walker, Millie the Model, modeling with 2 Millie the Model books, really? And Patsy and Hetty, I guess, is the other one.
I think it's Hetty.
Wow, that's a lot of paper dedicated. But I guess that had to do with the deal that they struck, the publishing deal that Marvel had at the time, right?
Do people? Yeah, that's a good point. Do people realize that the first couple of years there, DC was actually publishing Marvel comics?
Isn't that wild?
It's so crazy because they had a better deal with the distributor type thing back then, and so there was a limited. That's why you had things like Tales to Astonish and Tales of Suspense, is because they were limited in how many titles they could publish, because DC owned the company that was sending the Marvel stuff to the newsstands and all. So
was it just a limit on the number of superhero books? Because I'm just wondering, because without the westerns and the modeling type books, I'm wondering if maybe they were made an exception for those or something. I don't know.
And another interesting thing too is, as this stuff fades away, it's not like Marvel just says, all right, we're just going to do superhero stuff now. This stuff is what fades away and is replaced within a few years by Star Wars, Shogun Warriors, Micronauts, ROM, right? I mean, they were always doing a branch of their publishing for other stuff besides like the mainstream, Marvel superhero stuff.
And I feel like that's something that's lost nowadays. I mean, that's something that Marvel's all superheroes now, obviously, and it's just I kind of wish we have a little bit more diversity. It would be cool to see a war book at Marvel or something,
Oh man, yeah,
a war book or I mean, there's got to be. I mean, there's all kinds of different genres you could explore. It's hard sci-fi would be really cool in its own standalone. Well, anyway,
yeah, it's true. Yeah, I mean, for a brief moment, we had Helix from DC, and that was about it.
Oh yeah.
All right, so here's the Melter doing this. Oh, it's his chest, Luke.
You're filthy guy.
That was just.
And just to point this out, the Melter doesn't melt anything but metal, right? That's how that works, isn't it?
I guess. I don't.
From
the Radioactive Man, who always looks really cool.
I love Radioactive Man. He's my guy. He really is, because I mean, he just looks cool. He's Chinese, which you didn't see a lot of back then, and he wasn't Chinese in the Fu Manchu style like he with the Mandarin. He's just like a hardcore Chinese scientist gonna kick your butt. You could take Thor's hammer to the face, no problem. No, I love Radioactive Man.
Very underrated villain, I would say,
for sure.
Because his name is kind of goofy, but the rest of it. This is an example. Rob and I were remarking about how many little panels they would cram in and yet be full of words. That's what I mean. Look how much typing Stan was doing just for these 2 pages.
I can read
action scenes. This isn't even people sitting around talking. These are action scenes.
I know exactly. I could read an entire week's pull box collection in the time it takes to read one of these old Silver Age books. When we first started doing Marvel a Day, I was like, oh my God, it takes so long to read these comics. And they're frankly, a lot of them were terrible. Like those old Johnny Storm solo adventures from Strange Tales, which are like just beating my head against the desk. Make this end. It's so long.
And a lot of it's good. It's just in a different way, in a different era. And it's not how we grew up reading comics, and it's not what we're used to. And I guess if you were a kid in the 50s and you were just getting in your teen years when these were coming out in the 60s, man, this must have just been like the Beatles and Elvis and the Rolling Stones. Just,
Oh yeah. And there's something to be said about buying something for a dime that you can read all afternoon long.
Yeah.
I mean, you get incredible value for your Marvel comics.
let me tell you, in the late 70s when I was a kid reading them, I go pay my 32 cents with tax or 37 cents for my issues of whatever I'd buy at the grocery store. And I'd sit in the back seat when Grandma and Granddaddy would drive me back home after going to the grocery store. And I would still be reading that comic when we got home. And it wasn't a short trip.
Sure.
I didn't take, and this was in the 70s. I mean, so they had gotten a lot less verbose than this, but they still hadn't gotten to the point of like a Brian Michael Bendis comic of these days, which might have 5 words in the whole thing.
I'll in defense of Brian Michael Bendis, he is perfect for like the digital age. For like, if you get Marvel Unlimited and you have all the comics, you just like zoop right through them. It's a great read. But if you're getting them like 20 pages at a time and it's costing you $2 a pop, it's like, oh, that's got to be a kick in the butt every month.
Yeah,
I would hate that.
Oh yeah.
But nowadays, I zipped through. Recently I read his Daredevil run, and like, I mean, it didn't take long, even though it was like 100 issues. But it was a great story, and the art was great.
You read it quicker than you read 100 issues of that quicker than you could read this comic. we're on page 6 now. I just want to point out. But again, I just love that even in these little panels, you get this beautiful Jack Kirby action shot of the Avengers all going into action. That's a poster right there. That looks really good. And I've commented that if you look at issue number 1 and how Jack drew the Avengers, and then you just come just a few months into the future here, look how different. I mean, this is a quantum leap forward for the same artist just a few months later. This is way more dynamic than what you saw in issue number 1 or 2.
I agree. And the more room he gets on a page to like spread out, the better. So like the first issue of Fantastic Four number 1, there's like 9 panels for every page. And it's like, these tiny little boxes. Like, it's good, but you know it could be better. By the time he gets to his Thor run, where he's doing like 4 panels per page, it's gorgeous. It's always gorgeous. And the more room he gets, the more he takes advantage. And yeah, you're right. It's going to get better and better as we go from here.
It really does. I mean, and look, the poses he does on this page are just so much superior to what he'd done just a few months earlier.
No question about it.
So the Avengers are fighting the Melter and Radioactive Man and the Black Knight. And apparently the scheme was that they matched up in such a I don't know what to do with that.
I love that.
Because they're stuck to it, right? They're matched up in such a way that they are losing, right? And they have to come back the next time and fight different opponents. That's their brilliant idea is to swap opponents, which I thought was.
I'm assuming that these are not that the Avengers. Well, one, they're not the first team book. I know Justice League came before them. Justice Society, I guess, came before that. I'm assuming this is not the first time we've had an anti-Avengers, or like. I'm sure that we got books where like they had the Legion of Doom or whoever it was for the Justice League.
Right.
But this is still probably pretty close to groundbreaking stuff where it's like the anti-Avengers. For every person on the team, there's an opposite number on the other team. So this is, we take it for granted nowadays, but it's this is still pretty new territory.
It is. And what's also cool, I thought, was realizing that Baron Zemo has a team of villains to fight the Avengers here. And in the very next issue, has a completely different team. It's just a completely different
team. he's not married to one concept. He's very he got a very fluid thinker. He's Dr. Zemo.
He's like a pro wrestling manager that shows up with different wrestlers at every match. He's got the Heart Foundation here. He's going to have the British Bulldogs or something in the next one.
I didn't know you were a student of the sweet science, Van.
Going all the way back to Boutwell Auditorium, Birmingham, Alabama, Boutwell Auditorium. You come into Boutwell, you're gonna have to get well. Woo! Yeah.
Dang!
But you gotta respect it. So, in any case, here's all the Masters of Evil in their first go round, and they're still stuck to the floor. I love it.
And here's my man. The greatest villain that Stan ever came up with.
That's him.
Paste Pot Pete.
Paste Pot Pete. Oh my gosh. And
so
I'll
much
do anything to get out of here sooner. So he gives up the information, and Iron Man lugs a big barrel of solvent across town on his back. That's interesting. And they get loose. And meanwhile, we're gonna here we go again. Careful with that adhesive, you clumsy fool. Not a drop is to be wasted. Before I'm done, it will make me the most powerful. Not a lot of people talk about adhesive that way. I'm imagining that at 3M they probably talk like that.
I would hope so. I would hope that Nazi scientists went to work for 3M after the war to create the world's most powerful Post-it notes.
Yes, careful with those Post-it notes, fool. They will make me the most powerful man in America. Oh, I love it. All right, so adhesive hijinks. There's
time out.
Yes.
What the hell is grit?
Because I know. I've done research recently. I can tell you.
Please tell me, what is grit? I've always wondered.
This is so great because I just found this out. This is kind of mind blowing. All right.
Okay.
I went down the grit rabbit hole.
Okay.
I had the red yarn up on the wall and everything, man, connecting all the dots. Here's the deal. It started out because this is a worthwhile topic for just a second because it is in all the old comics.
Right.
It started out as a newspaper for rural folk, for farmers. And it was a German immigrant that came over from Germany in the 1800s and wanted to produce a newspaper that farm people would enjoy as opposed to the big city, highfalutin, highbrow papers. Okay.
Oh, the coastal elites and their liberal bias. Got it.
There you go. And so he had a mandate that the stories had to be positive. They had to encourage these hardworking people to get up out of bed every day and milk the cows and plow the fields and everything, that it was all worth it, and just kind of give them a moral uplift, That was the idea.
Huh.
And the son, one of his sons, I believe, or maybe grandsons, was a vice president of the company and became a vice president of Little League Baseball. And so they were headquartered in Pennsylvania. What's that town in Pennsylvania where they have the Little League World Series? Something Port, Williamsport, right? I think
I don't know from baseball.
Anyway.
I'm a wrestling fan.
Oh, okay. There you go. Well, I think it's Williamsport, Pennsylvania. I think it's right. If it's not, it's close, and people that know will know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so the Grit Publishers people donated a bunch of land, and they built the Little League World Series baseball stadium on their land. And so to this day, the Little League World Series is played in the stadium named after the family that founded Grit.
Yeah. Okay.
And for years, they were a little newspaper that kids sold for 15 cents. You kept the nickel and you sent them the dime.
And always with an agrarian type of bent to the reportage.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay.
And today it's like a glossy magazine, I'm told.
Oh, it's still a thing?
It's still around today, but it's a magazine.
Oh. And still aimed at like rural, at farmer types.
Yeah, yeah.
I will be damned.
I think you can get it at like Rural King and those kind of places. Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. This is the second thing I'm writing down to look up for later. I will find my local distributor of Grit, and because frankly, I just can't get myself out of bed in the morning to plow my turnip field. So this will be helpful. Thank you.
You get to keep that nickel, Luke. You get to keep that nickel and just send them the dime. I'm sure it's a little more than 15 cents now for a glossy magazine.
Likely so.
Yes. Yeah. That I was fascinated to find all that out. But anyway, there were a lot of things like that advertised back in those old comics. Okay, so more adhesive hijinks with the Teen Brigade. This is a cool shot of the Black Knight spraying more adhesive around.
Oh, yeah. that's just a great. And again, you give him room to work, and Jack will give you beautiful stuff. Look, at
only 3 panels. How did he get Stan to allow him to do 3 panels?
I guess he must have bought Stan lunch that day or something.
He did, yeah. And we get the great Thor deflecting bullets. And all this kind of stuff going on here.
Marvelous. So we are deep in the strategy of swapping opponents. So if you have a Thor villain, Thor doesn't fight the Thor villain. Thor fights the Iron Man villain, which is great until you get to the Wasp.
Yeah.
I'm hoping the Wasp doesn't fight Radioactive Man, because that fight would be over very quickly.
And this is something I've observed from the beginning, is that they treat the Wasp so badly. I don't just mean the Avengers, I mean Stan and Jack, but also the way that she acts, she kind of has it coming in a lot of ways too. But again, that's them writing her that way. But she keeps saying things and I'm just like, you deserve to be treated with more respect, Jan. But then you say something like that, and I'm like, yeah, I see why they treat you like that, Jan.
This book doesn't do well by Jan. I will say that some of her early appearances with when it was just Ant-Man and the Wasp in which book was that? Tales to Astonish? Yeah. I feel like they did a pretty good job with her sometimes. It's a lot of bad stuff, but yeah. I also like to point out actually the solution that Iron Man has here. I would like to know, because this feels like close to being actual science. Which is something that's kind of rare in these books. So as soon as any radiation touches the photoelectric cell on this device, it ejects a rapidly unwielding spool of lead foil, which wraps itself around the subject, and then it pops up a balloon and carries them away. That's some good stuff right there. That's a good solution. That's a quality fix for a Radioactive Man problem.
That is high concept.
I know. That's good stuff.
There's a lot going on there. It sums it up in 4 panels too, which is again Jack. Boom,
for sure.
Gets him, inflates, there he goes. Boom.
And anytime you can beat an enemy with a balloon, you get extra marks in my book.
Heck yeah. All right, let's see. So continuing the fight, Iron Man gets a lot of leeway here. There's Ant-Man or Giant. I don't know what he's calling himself at this point. He's Giant Man, he's Ant-Man, he's Ant-Man, he's Giant Man.
I'm pretty sure he's Giant Man at this point, even though he still gets to shrink down. Yeah.
He still uses the ants and everything. So we got an Avengers Letters page. I don't think we were done yet. So they continue up the next page. But we do have the Avengers Letters page. So they're talking about number 4. By the way, I always like to check and see if anybody that we know pops up.
Just thinking that, yeah. Nope.
I don't see anybody. And interesting too, they used to put basically the bullpen bulletins here. That's essentially what this is.
Yep. I guess they'll grow into that eventually. Yeah.
Address your letters to Lee and Kirby. That's my favorite thing.
How about that? Song ideas. Right. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yes. So all right. So more Adhesive X and more Cap and here we go. Now here we got the throwdown. Zemo versus Cap round 1.
And
So Zemo knows how to shatter garbage cans. That's interesting.
His hand is moving so fast, it doesn't even knock the can over. It just slashes right through it. That's how you know a judo master or karate master right there.
But I've got to give, here is Stan at his best, all right? Here comes Stan at his best. Let me just walk us through this.
Please.
Too bad your skill doesn't match your words, you arrogant killer. This is no innocent victim of tyranny you're taunting now. This is Captain America. I was adept at every form of hand-to-hand combat known to man while you were still safe in your laboratory serving your Nazi masters. Where is your braggadocio now, Master of Evil? First time he's called Master of Evil, I think. And then it just gets better. Stan's about to crank the flag's flying and we're all saluting and the music is playing because he's like, I still remember how you sneered at democracy, how you called Americans soft, timid, too spoiled to fight for freedom. You mocked free men. You boasted of your contempt for liberty. Feel my grip, Zemo. It is the grip of a free man. Oh, Stan, I love it. Look into my eyes, tyrant. They're the eyes of a man who would die for liberty. The world must never again make the fatal error of mistaking compassion for weakness. And while I live, it won't. I just want to salute the flag after that, Cap.
I actually performed this monologue when I was trying out for a Broadway musical, and they asked me to leave. And I'm not sure why, but again, it's that damn coastal liberal elitism that just. I do love this actually. This is Cap in rare speechifying form. That I growing up, I had there's certain things, certain characters in fiction that have shaped my values. Captain America is one of them. He's an FDR Democrat from back in the day, and he knows what's right, and he's going to tell you what's right. He's going to pump you up, and he's going to say, "Now you go do what's right because it's cool to do what's right."
Yeah,
go on, Captain America. Good stuff.
The next person I shake hands with, I'm going to say, feel my grip. It is the grip of a free man.
Okay,
that's so good. That's so good. Come on. Oh.
I hope that I have enough wherewithal next time I'm in a fight to the death to be able to bust out the word braggadocio.
Oh, that's a good one. Absolutely. All right, so here's Zemo's henchman, whatever. And
do we ever get his name? I don't think we do. I think he's just bald henchman.
Yeah, and the Giant Man fights him, and there's Giant Man fighting, and then here comes Thor riding on the horse, and it's all good. And then Zemo gets away in what looked like the pogo plane. Jack didn't have a whole lot of different vehicles. All right, last page. Zemo took off. There was tear gas in his canister instead of adhesive solvent. So, yeah,
he's dead now.
And, I love that Rick asked Thor if he's going to keep the horse, and just a few months later, Thor had been said something like, "Forsooth, I may not keep yon animal. It is too much, whatever." Here he goes, "I can't, Rick." It's still his by law.
Yeah.
What law does Thor recognize? if the All Father says, "I shall have this horse," verily shall I have this horse.
His dialogue, Thor's dialogue through this whole book feels just like it could be coming out of anybody's mouth. It's one of those things I get with a team book. You let it slide.
And the Hulk kind of suffers from it too, because when the Hulk's not in this issue, but in previous issues, Hulk has conversations with people.
Right.
He sounds kind of like Ben Grimm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, where's Hulk Smash? Yeah. There was no Hulk Smash back then. So, all right. So, Luke, we are halfway through our journey.
Oh my.
Any thoughts about this one before we tab on into the second part?
Good start. The next issue, I think, tops it. Okay. The next issue has my favorite cover of these first early Avengers issues, and it has my favorite 2 panels in any Avengers book in the first 20 years of the book, probably.
Wow.
So I'll see if you can figure out which 2 of those are. But yes, this issue top marks, but next one tops it.
Awesome. So, I love, if you have a slight suspicion we haven't seen the last of Zemo and his Masters of Evil, you just may be right. Well, this story was only a warm up to whet your appetite. So, in other words, Stan is like, yeah, we're just gonna use him again because that's cool. We got him now. We got a new villain. It's not the Hulk. It's not Namor. Dang, Namor was in everything back then. So yeah, I like this one a lot. I like that Cap is already just fitting right in with the team and already kind of assuming a tactical, if not outright leadership spot. This quick.
For sure. For sure.
This quick. All right. On to 7, their darkest hour. And I love the poses.
Look at this cover. Look at the disco poses along the bottom. It's like this is absolutely rave night at the Masters of Evil compound.
It is, man. I gotta say, I gotta ask Stan. Stan, is this gonna be is this gonna be just an ordinary Marvel comic? No. This is an extraordinary Marvel epic, is what this is gonna be. And he always tells us the truth straight up.
Absolutely.
So, and
I would buy a car from Stan Lee.
Yeah. There's a minimal amount of verbiage on this cover.
Comparatively speaking, yeah, that's true, because they had to make room for the disco party.
But this is, for the early issues, this is bare. It's just 2 boxes, and one of them is only 4 words. This is remarkable. By the way, Hulk is now gone from the corner box. I'm waiting. Wait, in fact, let me go back and see. Wrong way. See, he was still there on number 6. So 7 is the first one where we lose the Hulk, and we get, in fact, did we have Cap? Yeah, we had Cap walking up there, but now we got Cap's face. So,
and I don't feel like it's better for having lost the Hulk. I feel like the Hulk added a special ingredient that is missing from here on. But hey,
yeah. Well, he was kind of he was the background story for the first 4 or 5 issues.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think I remember you saying something about this to Rob on a previous episode about how, having somebody on the team that's just kind of moving at odds with everybody else, and it adds a nice tension, a nice friction. And I do miss it from here on out. So
you do miss it, right?
It's a shame.
And I think that's what Hawkeye is going to bring, which is why I never used to like Hawkeye in those old issues. But he does provide that.
He provides it in great quantities, to the point that it's just like, stop. Just stop. For God's sake. You're making everyone unhappy.
It's true. The diabolical Dr. Zemo. Has he ever referred to as Dr. Zemo again, or is this the only time?
I think this might be the last issue where he gets to refer to as Dr. Zemo. From here on out, I think he's a Baron.
I think that also it's a good thing that the Hulk doesn't show up, because I couldn't take another Bob Banner reference.
Nah.
Just don't know what was going on with that, but there you are.
Stan works hard.
Yeah, he did. All right, so Iron Man. Oh, I looked this up. I don't have it handy. Iron Man 56. Oh, I can find it real quick, but it's actually, that's not right. It was not Iron Man 56, because I went and looked, and I'm like, this has nothing. Iron Man's number 56 was from like 1974.
Oh, yeah, it would have been Tales of Suspense, right? Yeah, that's
Tales of Suspense 56. In Tales of Suspense 56.
It might not be too late to claim your no prize, Van.
Yeah, I actually, but I looked it up. I'm not going to go find it right now. I'll move us along, but I'll just describe what happens is that Tony is like going to go do something, going to go out or something on a date. And he gets an Avengers call. He's like, I just don't have time for that right now. I'm going out on this date. Just tell him, leave me alone. Well, he gets called to the carpet, young man.
Oh, yes.
Better speak up, mister. This is like when Carol was being an alcoholic and gets dragged before the inquisitorial board, around 2000, what year was that? Late 90s, I guess.
Yeah, late 90s, yeah. Yeah, and you've got Big Daddy Giant Man looking sternly down at his wayward kid. Yeah.
Yeah, even Rick's like, shame.
I wouldn't do that if I were an Avenger.
No.
Please let me be an Avenger.
So,
Oh no.
It crashed on me. Okay, here we go. What's up with this mask? I don't know. But anyway, I can offer no defense. I allowed a personal problem to affect my sense. The personal problem was a hot chick. But that's Tony. So we're not supposed to pry into each other's personal lives yet. Now there's nothing anyone can do. All right. So we're ready for the vote. We've reached a decision. It's the most painful one. We find you guilty. Guilty, Tony. Oh, they don't know it's Tony. By the way, if I had $1 for every time Iron Man in the first several issues of Avengers says, as long as the other Avengers don't know that I'm actually Tony Stark, they must never find out I'm Tony Stark. Like, there was one issue, he says it like 3 times in the same issue.
Yeah, I think it was okay. So for a little while, I wound up leaving the Marvel a Day project, and I'm pretty sure it was because I couldn't stand any more Iron Man issues. For basically what you're talking about here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just
No doubt.
it gets old. Agreed. Agreed.
But on the other side of the coin, there's a really cool transition that Jack does here, where
Well,
Thor is pointing
Mm.
and pronouncing, you're basically suspended for a week. We find thou shalt be suspended for about a week. So go hang out. You're a billionaire. You'll be fine.
I just want to point out before you move on, and it is a great transition, but before you move on, if my penalty for missing a meeting is that I get to miss more meetings, I don't think I'm pretty sure I would just miss every meeting and be okay with this.
You and I agree on that. Here's the problem. We've established already on this show that Tony's favorite thing about the Avengers is calling meetings.
That is a very good point. This might hurt him more than anything. You're right. Now that you mention
it. There's been like two different stories that started with Iron Man, like, I called you all here, and the other's like, why are we here? There's not even a villain attacking. And Thor's like, verily, I have other, well, he didn't say it back then, but I have other things to do, right? And it's funny because you think Thor has to go off and fight the Midgard serpent or something for this defense of all creation. It's usually he goes and like flirts with Jane Foster while tending to some patients at his hospital.
He flirts with Jane Foster. Well, there's a whole other story about Thor that I could tell another time. But yes, you're right. You're exactly right.
It's never quite what you think it's going to be, is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Very good.
So here's this beautiful transition from Thor to Odin. Yeah. And he's giving sentence to the Enchantress, who is gorgeous as always. And what is the Executioner wearing?
Oh, that poor guy. What's the matter with him?
He's got now he looks so much cooler without this. Whatever. I was
going to say, he's such a simple design, but he just looks cool, doesn't he? I can't really put my name. I guess it's the haircut and the mustache, but he just is a cool looking character.
He is great. He's absolutely fantastic. Yeah, but I just don't understand why he wears this dorky helmet. I don't care if it makes you invincible. You look dumb. Get rid of it. Just be Scourge the Executioner.
Man, keep it simple, dude. You're doing great. You're doing great.
And here's our old buddy Loki watching and plotting, so that's cool. So they have to take the long trip down the Rainbow Bridge. Across the Rainbow Bridge to Asgard. And they end up in the middle of traffic, of course, in Manhattan, because just as in Doctor Who, everything revolves around London. In the Marvel universe, all roads lead to Manhattan.
I always kind of pictured that or took that as being like, yeah, but if all this is happening in New York, imagine what's happening on the rest of the planet.
Oh,
holy cow. If just New York is this nuts, in the Marvel universe, like Poughkeepsie's got to be like freaking crazy.
Ooh, man, I got to tell you, though, in my day, in rural Alabama, there wasn't a lot of stuff happening.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I would have liked to see Marvel Sylacauga, Alabama. That would have been fun. There probably would have been something going on, but there was nothing going on. So Zemo flees country.
Oh, before that, if I may,
yes,
we get where the Executioner walks, he walks alone. That fourth panel, and it's like, man, that is just. I didn't. When I got to reading the first time I read through it, it's like I didn't know how much I needed that, but that is like classic comic book dialogue that I just cannot get enough of. That is absolutely my cup of tea.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so
Zemo flees country, and I guess the thought process for these two is, oh, hey, we're evil too. Maybe we should hook up with this master of evil.
That's it. Yeah, he sounds cool. It's basically their reaction. This guy sounds like a fun time, so they do. Meanwhile, Cap is like working out with these guys, wrestlers, and okay, cool. Get some more Jack. Couldn't get away with putting a big swastika in the middle of the comic nowadays, I don't think. But there you go. Mission Capture Hitler. There you go. Where'd it go? There.
Hey.
All right. So Cap, Rick. Oh Lord. Rick,
here we are. My favorite two panels in any Avengers comic for the next 10 years are panels 3 and 4 on this page. If you just cut those out, which I did for Marvel a Day as one of our posts, it's like it is a perfect standalone little comic strip all on its own.
What?
Apparently, World War II veterans don't like it when you dress up as their dead comrades.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what Rick's standing on. Is he just like Cap sitting down? And I guess so.
I guess so. He's just looming.
He's standing on a box.
He's very tall, apparently. Yes.
Yeah, Rick. I didn't. Yeah, so again, they're just trying to do things with Rick Jones because he's a fun character, and like you said, it's good to have a kind of a point of view character like that. But since Hulk wasn't really around doing anything at the time, you kind of make him, Cap's junior guy. Later, by the way, later on, Rick will become Billy Batson basically to Captain Marvel.
Yep.
So he does quite a bit of stuff over the years. I guess he eventually gets associated more with Captain Marvel than anybody else because he was even in. Rick was still showing up as a like subplot in Captain Marvel in like the early '80s before he died. In that last big story before he died, Rick was like the second main character in that book.
Did you read Peter David's Hulk run during the '90s, man?
No, not the Hulk. No, Captain Marvel, but not the Hulk.
Okay, yeah. So he winds up being a big part of Peter David's Hulk run, and he was a ton of fun in that book. So that's where I always think of when I think of Rick Jones. I think of that run, and then later on he comes back into the Captain Marvel mythos. But in modern days, we don't see Rick Jones very often anymore. He really hasn't shown up in the Marvel universe, the cinematic universe, but we haven't seen a ton of him in modern comics in quite a while. I think he might have even gotten killed off during the Secret Empire thing that they did a few years back.
I have said that of all the Marvel characters that we have not yet seen in the MCU at all, Rick Jones is easily the most important and biggest one that we haven't seen because he's connected to everybody.
He is, but he's the POV character, and it's like, while I miss it, I think it'd be cool to see. Are we really missing anything by not having him? Since
and where would you put him is the thing. Where would you?
I wouldn't is the thing.
I mean, that's the thing. I know. I agree. I think you either have him in almost everything or you don't have him at all, and they just have him not at all.
Yeah, he could have been a cornerstone of the universe if they had him from the beginning, but now it's just like, because the thing is, their superheroes. I feel like a lot of the times are the POV characters. Like you've got Peter Quill. He's a perfect POV character. Why would you need a Rick Jones to provide a man on the street perspective on a regular guy with a mask? Yeah. You wouldn't, right? No. So yeah, I feel like the chance to have him in the MCU has probably passed us by, and it's probably not the worst thing in the world.
I think that the only way I could really see him coming in now is if they try to do a new solo Hulk movie, have him as being an important part of that.
That could be cool.
Because he hasn't been in a Hulk. He hadn't been in a. I mean, he's basically really when you start with the 1970s TV show, he's been written out of the Hulk story, and he was such an important part of it. It's kind of like if you did Spider-Man, and you didn't have the whole Uncle Ben thing.
That's fair. Because I mean, those original Hulk issues, the story of him and Dr. Banner in the original Hulk stories it's actually a really nice little character piece, and so missing that just means you're telling a very different Hulk story. But ultimately, I don't think with everything with Rick Jones, I don't think you're missing the central metaphor or the central thrust of any character by not having a Rick Jones there to point at it and say, wow, gee, neat, So he may just be one of those things that was important for storytelling in the 60s, but isn't important in the 21st century. I don't know.
I think it's true. I guess, I mean, I'm not saying I'm dying to have him. I'm just saying that in terms of importance to the Marvel universe in history, I think he's the most significant character that hasn't been used yet.
Hey,
that doesn't mean he should be.
Yeah, no,
he is. Because I mean, after him, it's really like Nova, and then you're just kind of getting down to the C list and the D list.
Yeah, I mean, we have gotten some really obscure people show up in the MCU and if Rick Jones hasn't been there yet, it's like either you're gonna have to make him like the next Thanos. Or just don't worry about him.
Hey, I read the pre-scroll war. I know he could be the next Thanos if he wanted to be.
Hey, anyway. Good point. Exactly.
There we go. That's true. All right, so here, Zemo on his throne.
Oh yeah,
dudes with spears. You gotta love
collecting taxes.
Yeah, that's it. Collecting tribute. And he's being haunted by the Masters of Evil, which is interesting. The other Masters of Evil, Mark II. And we've got an Avengers helicopter. Is that what this is? But she calls it a plane, of course, a silly old plane. But that's Jen. Don't be late for our next meeting, Iron Man. If it's a meeting, Iron Man's going to be there waiting for you. Come on, it's the favorite part of being an Avenger is having meetings. All right, here is the Executioner disguised as a Nazi war criminal. Because I'm thinking when I want to be, not visible and kind of hide away and have people not notice me, a monocled Nazi is really the way to go to just fit right in. You know what I'm saying?
And did you clock his name here? Hans Gruber Velt.
Where is he?
Top page or second page, top the panel. Yeah, Hans Gruber Velt. So close. So close.
That's if Hans Gruber and Franklin Roosevelt had a child.
That it kind of looks like that now that you mention it.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Huh. Now I'm never gonna unsee that.
Holder. He needs the Red Skull cigarette holder, and he's perfect.
Because he's basically Strucker at this point, right? And he's basically
he is. You're right.
The same head model that he used for Strucker.
Until he takes his head off, and it's scourge
no. With his weird eyes. What is up with the eyes on the Executioner? We've seen that in a couple of panels now. I can't quite tell what's going on there.
He's got the crazy eyes.
He's got the crazy eyes.
But I like that he's able to really do a good impersonation of a Nazi war criminal.
Right down to the clicking. Yeah, he does. It's like he's really committed to the bit.
He did. He's committed to that part, and he studied up. It's really quite fascinating. So, all right, there's another good shot of Thor. I mean, again, Jack is really coming into his own. You wouldn't have gotten scenes like this in the first couple of issues. Agreed
totally. I will say that Jack's art on the Avengers is not always my favorite. I will say with Chick Stone inking him here, it feels pretty solid. And there's some panels that are like just downright gorgeous looking.
Yes,
and that top left there is absolutely one of them. That's good stuff.
It really is good. Yeah. Okay, so Amora hypnotizes him first of many times, I'm sure. I love the evil Avengers, but Iron Man looks great, diabolical, and Giant Man and Wasp. What is Cap doing here?
Constipated Goblin is what I'm getting from Cap.
Was okay. That works.
But that Iron Man is like a luchador nightmare. I love that.
He really is. Wow. I like here that Cap gets hit by a gas missile. And so he wraps himself up in the parachute, but then realizes he has to get back out of it. And we're told the slashing sharp edge shield cuts through it just in time to crash down. I mean, that looks like something out of one of the movies. I was pretty impressed with this whole little sequence.
I totally agree. That is some kinetic looking stuff.
Yeah. And then he starts taking out the natives, of course, that Zemo is. I never dreamed he'd give such a good account of himself, but he must be stopped.
You just fought him the issue before, and he berated you while busting out braggadocios and such.
And walking on your backs.
Exactly.
That was God.
Okay. Why are these natives not fighting tooth and nail for me?
I can't imagine. All right. So more. He ends up in. Oh, this is great. I love this sequence too. So Cap falls into a hole and he can't get out. Okay. Now, meanwhile, the other Avengers are fighting and blowing up a helicopter, and Giant Man trips over a building or something. Giant Man has to grow really, really big so he doesn't fall as far. That makes sense.
Absolutely.
But he grows so big. Did he take a pill? I don't see him taking his tablet. I don't know if they've changed how they change size by this point.
By this point they have. I think it's just at will now, but I could be wrong.
Okay. It seemed like just an issue before or two, they were still having to constantly pop pills, which is really disturbing.
Yeah.
But I like the idea he gets so big that falling out of a helicopter is just like falling off the porch. That works.
Yeah, for sure.
But then he's grown so much that he can't really move, and so he has to get out of the way of crazy Thor. Now, remember, Cap's stuck in a hole. So I want to get to I'm going to go ahead and get to this real quick before I forget. So the Enchantress is like, oh, this Captain America, he's stuck in a hole. Well, I'm going to finish him off. I'm going to drop rocks on him. And Cap's like, oh, cool, stuff to climb out. She drops rocks to kill him, and he just uses them to climb right out of the hole.
She's not a very effective villain, honestly.
No, if he had known she did it, he'd been like, "Oh, an ally! Thank you so much for sending me those rocks to climb up." But
just a quick point out,
fashions.
And they're stunning, no doubt. Just to point out though, that second page there, fourth panel, that drawing of the Enchantress, it just grabs me. I'm not quite sure why. It just feels like, boy, Jack really put some extra love on that one for some reason. It's just like that is excellent. That is some excellent figure work.
He takes a character that is a beautiful woman, almost a Marilyn Monroe type, but he's able to give her a malevolence there. You know what I mean? He's able to convey that she's beautiful, but she's evil. I think that's pretty amazing.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah, it's really interesting. All right, so here's Tony smoking a cigarette, apparently, and not good for your heart, Tony. and sees what's going on. He's like, "Well, I've been suspended, but I think this qualifies for me to break the rules and come back on the team." And they're happy to see him. And he spins Thor around for a while. I like he's just got Thor going until he starts to run out of power. All right. So Cap hits the village people with a palm tree. That's awesome.
Oh, that's some good stuff.
Takes over the weapon and starts shooting them with it.
Just want to point out here, and I wish the Marvel Today guys could see this. 100 magnets for $1. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's like, oh man, we always supposed that these old Marvel that like Big Magnet had their fingers in old school Marvel. It's like, here, proof. Oh my god, that's so great. Anyway,
go on. Thank you for not doing that when I was drinking, because I'd have just ruined everything. Big Magnet. All right, you got the line of the show. So congratulations, you win the line of the show with Big Magnet. That's awesome.
Deep bow.
That was awesome. All right, so he blows up the headquarters. Stupid. I hate the stupid magnet thing. Quicker they get rid of that, the better.
It's fine.
Model rockets. Let's see. Oh, Zemo. I love that Zemo's aircraft looks like a badminton birdie.
A little bit, yeah. Look at that.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
And Cap going to catch a ride on it.
He's going to catch a ride on it, hanging from the outside of it, from the Amazon to New York City.
New York.
Merely a 12-hour ride on a supersonic jet from the outside. He should be basically a glove and a shield by the time he gets there.
But he's Cap. Come on, he does what he's got to do, man.
He does what he has to do.
I think they did kind of stretch things a little bit by putting Zemo in South America. I think that kind of the logistics of this story got a little bit away from him, and you just have to kind of wink and nod.
So you're a history teacher. I mean, is back in this point, because I mean, nowadays, Nazis hiding out in South America is kind of a trope.
Yeah.
But this is like 1964, right? Or so, 1963. Yeah. Was that something that was like widely acknowledged at that point? I don't know.
No, I think they were looking for him there immediately because several of them escaped there and were actually captured by the Mossad.
Okay. So that's something that was like in the public consciousness already. Okay, that.
And then just a few years after this, you get The Boys from Brazil, which is like an actual movie and novel about it.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it was kind of known. That's interesting. So I kept thinking, how are they gonna? Because I couldn't remember. I'm like, how are they gonna get Thor, deprogrammed? He just hits him with like a flashbulb.
Yeah, it works. And look at the vulnerability on Thor in that next panel, though. Like he's like cradling his hammer, like, oh gosh, oh gee, I'm awful sorry, fellas. I didn't mean to almost kill you with my hammer.
Is your week's banishment already ended, sir? It sounds like a Dickens line or something. That's great. Meanwhile, at the hip uptown apartment of Scourge and Amora,
man, they really are just like,
yeah, like a sitcom. It looks like Bewitched or something going on here.
Mod as hell. Look at that.
Yeah, they should have just stopped here. And she could have become like a fashion designer. He could become some kind of consultant in business or banker. And they could have just been great.
Yeah, we never see them again. They just kind of disappear into the jet set New York social scene. I think they would have done great.
And they end up as characters on Succession because they would totally fit in. Totally fit in. All right. Well, the badminton birdie's coming back, and I love the Enchantress tries to help by guiding the plane, and things don't go so well. All right, they fight. The fights are great, but I just kind of go, okay, moving along. I want to know what's going on. Oh, we're almost to the end. So, this is kind of rude here, right?
Oh, dude.
The Enchantress and Executioner escape in the badminton birdie, and Thor is just like, I'm going to send him to another dimension
or something.
Really? Where?
He don't know.
I can say.
I'm just going to teleport them someplace. I don't know where they go.
Oh, no.
It could be the White House. It could be the moon. I don't know.
I'm not responsible for the destination. I just open the door and shove them through.
My hammer does stuff sometimes. I can't control it, really.
Who can say I can't be held responsible for what the hammer does? Blame Odin.
Sure. It's so easy
There
to
you
blame
go.
Odin because he's kind of a
Oh,
jerk.
yeah, he is. It's true. It could be to a different city. It wouldn't be so bad, right? Or a different universe, verse. So yeah, it sucks for them. I guess we'll at least this gets them out of the way while we deal with Kang and Wonder Man, and then we'll see what happens after that, right?
You got some good issues coming up. I hope you got some good partners to dance with for those.
Yeah, we're gonna have David Wright on to talk about Kang and Wonder Man. That should be cool.
There you go.
Def
Yeah,
Dave himself.
Dave's gonna do you right. You're gonna have a good time with Def.
He will. All right, so we wrap things up here. How is Cap? He's coming to now. Don't worry, he'll be good as new in a few minutes. We shall need all our strength. If the enchantress is among us, the executioner must be also. I'm glad you're figuring that out. Their power is greater than any mortal can suspect. Together with Zemo, they may be as strong as we. No matter how strong they are, we'll find them. And when we do, nothing will save them. Nothing. Well, Cap's kind of ruthless now that he's awake. Yeah. And when they do, as indeed they will, foreshadowing, you'll be there too, sharing all the thrills and excitement. This is our pledge to you in this, the glorious new Marvel Age of Comics. And it is.
The end.
All right. So your thoughts on this one, and then we'll kind of wrap up.
I love this issue. I love this issue in all kinds of ways. Yeah, just soup to nuts. So Mark Waid, when he was writing Captain America back in the 90s or whatever, he said that the way he approached Captain America was that he always envisioned him in constant motion. And I can only assume that he's talking about like Kirby's take on Cap, because throughout this book, he is just constantly moving and tumbling and attacking and jumping and flipping. And it really kind of is the lifeblood of this book at this point, I think, is Captain America. Everybody else is there. Thor is there. Iron Man is there, but Captain America really is kind of like the living soul of this book, and I feel like you really get that in this issue. And so this one's one of my favorites. So I was glad to have a chance to come out and talk to you about this one.
Oh yeah, it's been great. I agree, and I think that Captain America really it's amazing to me how quickly he has become so much of the focus, not just of the action and the dialogue, but the villains, the plot. I mean, it's kind of become Captain America and friends just a couple of issues after they found him floating in the ice.
Hey, Jack created him. You can tell he's glad to have him back. You can absolutely tell.
Absolutely. And I mean, you can see how like about a year later, he's going to be the only one left of this group because they're comfortable enough using him that you don't need, those others anymore. But it is cool to see the big three plus Hank and Jan. I mean, they really are kind of the core of the Avengers. There's others that, over the years have earned a spot in that roster, but honestly, that right there in that very last panel, that's the Avengers. To me, that's the heart and soul of the Avengers. And, we don't get it for that long. Like I said, by 16, we're going to have the old order changeth. But,
right.
But there they are. So yeah, you could tell that Stan and Jack had fun writing and drawing Cap. And that's what's going to continue after, 16. So
no question.
All right. Well, very good. Luke, thank you again for coming on tonight and joining me to talk about Avengers 6 and 7. Yeah, the Masters of Evil, the duology. Remind folks where to find you for Marvel a Day and everything.
Absolutely, you can find us on Twitter at Marvel a Day, PROJ. It rhymes, and also on Facebook. You can find us on our Facebook page as well. Just search for Marvel a Day, and you'll be sure to find us. So
there you go.
And it was a ton of fun, Van. Thanks a lot for having me out. Love to do this again sometime.
That's awesome. Yeah, we will do it again for sure. And remember, www.avengersassemble.net. We will see you guys coming up in 2 more weeks, talking to David Wright about Kang and Immortus. About Kang and Wonder Man. There's a Kang and Immortus after that. So, all right, we will see you guys later.